The wait is over. Dive into Audible's most anticipated collection, The Best of 2025, featuring top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals across all genres. Our editors have carefully curated this year's must-listens, from brilliant hidden gems to the buzziest new releases. Every title in this collection has earned its spot. This is your go-to for the absolute best in 2025 audio entertainment. Whether you love thrillers, romance, or nonfiction, your next favorite listen awaits. Discover why there's more to imagine when you listen at audible.com/bestoftheyear.
Instead of trying to be chosen, start being the chooser. Have you heard this advice before? Maybe on this podcast? Today we're diving into why we're so hooked on being chosen in relationships, why it makes dating so hard, and how to shift into being the chooser so you can actually get into an amazing relationship with a great match. Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no-nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease, whether you've been dating for a while or you're just starting out. I believe dating can be fun, and I cannot wait to dive into today's topic because being the chooser is the key to enjoying the dating process. Being the chooser can mean a lot of things. It means that you get to decide that dating doesn't have to feel isolating. You get to choose connection, support, and smart advice before a partner even enters the picture. That's why I am also really excited to tell you about the Dating Intentionally community. It is filled with people from all walks of life, different ages, orientations, experiences, all navigating dating intentionally. And we've got space for venting, celebrating wins, decoding weird text messages, and getting your profile reviewed. I'm in there too, offering personalized support. And once a month, we hop on a live call and talk face to face in real time, which has been so insightful and just amazing. If you are craving a space where you don't have to do this alone, come join us. You can tap on the link in the show notes or head to datingintentionallypod.com/community. That's datingintentionallypod.com/community. Okay, so in this episode, I am breaking down our obsession with being chosen, how to shift into being the chooser, and what it means to feel chosen versus be chosen and how they're different. Ultimately, I want you to come away from this episode thinking about how you can focus more on being the chooser in your dating life. What does being chosen versus being the chooser mean? Being chosen, I think the fantasy version of this is someone spotting you from across the room and immediately they want to get to know you and it's all instant and the passion is strong and the world just melts away. Think love at first sight. Being chosen in reality is someone getting to know you and deciding to be with you. They make you a priority. They make you feel special. And of all the people in the world, they want to be with you. And yes, it is very romantic. The chooser is the inverse of that, right? You're getting to know someone and you are deciding to commit to them. This is the process of dating, getting to know people, and based on the information we gather, we decide who we want to pursue and invest in. And this is a privilege that we have in today's dating world. We get to decide for ourselves who we want to be with. So why are we so obsessed with this? Why are we so obsessed with being picked, being chosen, being seen, being spotted? Why? I think that this is something that everyone wants, men and women, but I think this affects women a little bit more. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you are listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, why you think we're so obsessed with being chosen or picked by someone. But here's why I think we're so obsessed with it. One, I think it's a lot because of media and how relationships are presented and what we're taught about how relationships are supposed to work or how you get into one. Being chosen is all about the beginning and the start of a relationship where you barely know each other, but there's just something that draws another person to you and they're seeing you and they want to be with you and they think you're incredible and they just drop everything and run to you like a Taylor Swift song. It means that you're special. Being chosen gives us status. It's like, oh, there's another person who wants to be with this person. It gives us status. And it means being worthy. Like, oh, I'm worthy of love if someone is choosing to be with me. And I'm not saying this is all true. This is just the messages we get, right? We're taught that we have to make ourselves extremely choosable, especially for women. That means being palatable, beautiful, easy, no stress, low friction, or else no one would ever want us. I want to take a moment to just hop into the media corner over here because I have a couple examples that I think are pretty fun of how this is shown in movies. So I'm going to name a few classic early aughts, 90s movies that I grew up with. Maybe you did too, where this is really just played out to a T. One is 10 Things I Hate About You. And the protagonist, Kat Stradler, she does as much as she can to make herself not choosable. She is treated kind of like a weirdo and an outcast. And the guy who pursues her is doing it because of a bet at first. That's Heath Ledger. And then he ends up falling for her after she has a damsel in distress moment and gets drunk at a party and like falls over. That is basically the message of, you know, you have to be a damsel in distress or else no one's going to ever see you or want to save. You have to be saved by a guy in order to be chosen in this movie. Another one is She's All That, which is a classic. The protagonist, Lainey Boggs, is supposed to be this ugly, weirdo, artsy girl who is not choosable. And then a man appears in her life with ulterior motives because there is yet again another bet involved. She gets a makeover. She's suddenly gorgeous and he ends up choosing her. It's all about that makeover. It's all about that change moment of like, oh my gosh, you were right under my nose the whole time. All we had to do is take off your glasses and put your hair down. And then finally, Miss Congeniality, which is one of my favorite movies with Sandra Bullock. The protagonist in this one, you know, Gracie Hart, she's more masculine. She's an FBI agent. She goes undercover in a beauty pageant. She gets an iconic makeover and bam, her crush is now interested because she's more choosable. And in this movie, she doesn't just get the guy. She also wins friendship and her career is back on track thanks to this makeover moment that made her, quote, more worthy. So I hope that you can start to see the pattern here. These women go from fully themselves, but invisible, to worthy and choosable after they change themselves. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it like that. And these are the messages we learned, or at least that I learned growing up, that you're not good enough until you get a makeover or no one will choose you unless there's some bet involved. And I know for me, these movies really affected me. I did not want to be Lainey Boggs. I did not want to be Kat Stratford. I did want to be Asian Gracie Hart, but who didn't? Like when she walks out of that makeover. I grew up on these movies and wanting to make sure that I was going to grow up into a woman who didn't need the makeover, who was just already choosable. So that was my little media corner. Let me know what you think. If you relate or maybe you completely disagree, I would love to know your take. Of course, all of the stuff about wanting to be chosen is rooted in something even deeper. And it's hard to talk about wanting to be chosen without talking about anxious attachment. So let's talk about the anxious attachment piece. If you have an anxious attachment style, the obsession with being chosen hits a little bit different. It's not about just wanting to feel special. It's also about needing external validation to feel okay. When someone chooses you, it temporarily will soothe the anxiety you feel, but it doesn't last because when you're anxiously attached, you're constantly scanning for signs that they might not choose you anymore. I mean, can you relate? This can show up as needing constant reassurance that they still want you, overanalyzing every text and interaction or every shift in their mood or energy, feeling like you have to perform or be perfect just to keep their interest, panicking when they pull back, and staying in relationships way too long because being chosen feels better than being alone, even if they're not the right match for you. And this is why the chooser mentality is so important if you're anxiously attached, because when you're just waiting to be chosen, you're handing all of your power and security to another person. Think about what kind of dynamic that creates. But when you step into being the chooser and being the one who picks the other person, you get to ask, do I actually feel good with this person? Am I getting my needs met? Is this relationship adding to my life or taking from it? Think about all the movies I mentioned, by the way. None of the women, they weren't really making the choice. They were just being chosen. What if they didn't want to be with that guy? You know, I just want to say though, you can want to be chosen and you can be the chooser at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. But if you struggle with anxious attachment, learning to be the chooser is how you stop abandoning yourself in relationships. Someone asked me on Instagram, what is the difference between feeling chosen and being chosen? Because especially if anxious attachment, I mean, I feel like this is kind of where we get tripped up. You can know the person is choosing to be with you by like what they're doing on paper, but it doesn't always mean that you really feel it. So here's my little breakdown. When it comes to feeling chosen, versus being chosen. We often chase the feeling. We want them to initiate dates. We want them to tell us sweet nothings and commit to us. We want them to be present, to ask us questions, and it makes us feel more secure. We want them to want us, right? But being chosen looks a little bit different, in my opinion. Being chosen means that they stay even after they see all the sides of who you are. They don't run when things get hard. They give you space to be yourself. You don't need a makeover. They don't project their dream person onto you. They're really seeing you, and they collaborate with you. They show up when it's hard. So I wonder if you can see the difference there. Like, being chosen, I think, really comes down to being loved. That's really what we're talking about here. But if you're just focusing on, are they initiating dates? Are they saying all the nice things to me? Are they asking me questions? Are they like committing to me? It's important. Don't get me wrong. But I think that being chosen versus feeling chosen, being chosen just looks a little bit different. It goes a little deeper. I think you can have both, and both are important. I just don't want you to confuse someone going through the motions of choosing you and what being chosen really means. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience with this, because I really had a journey going from desperately wanting to be chosen to being the chooser in my dating era. And it started in high school. I think from age 15 to 28, I was obsessed with being chosen. Here are a few quick examples. One, I chased guys all the time. Being liked by a guy in high school was so important to me, like growing up. I felt that this was the way to be worthy in the world and to be respected. I remember being really concerned about my sexual performance growing up. I'm like 15 years old, and my teenager brain thought, I need to get good at sex now so that by the time I meet my future husband, I'll be amazing at it and, he'll keep me around. That was literally what I thought. Gotta love teenager logic. I thought that was the only thing that mattered. And then in my 20s, I continued chasing guys who clearly weren't interested in me, and it felt horrible. I basically created this entire version or persona of myself that would appeal to men more because I just so badly wanted to be chosen. That meant trying to be the smallest version of myself, the most palatable version of myself, and basically orchestrating my life around being choosable. And it wasn't until like shortly after meeting my ex that I realized I can have a whole personality that doesn't revolve around what I thought men would want or be into. And then the third example here, I just want to say that our obsession with being chosen doesn't just show up in dating. It shows up in established relationships too, because I spent the back half of my last long-term relationship so frustrated with my ex because he wasn't choosing me to marry. We were committed, we were living together, but he wasn't dying to put a ring on it. And I really thought, I want to hug my former self. I really thought that I wasn't good enough for him to choose me. And I kept finding ways to be better for him so that he would want to marry me. It sucked. And I'm sure I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I remember this so well. On our 5-year anniversary trip, just bawling my eyes out in front of him because I didn't get why he didn't want to marry me. And I remember saying that out loud, that I wasn't good enough. And he didn't say anything because he was avoidant and didn't know what to do with my emotions, which is not great. But I interpreted that as confirming my belief. It wasn't until way later I realized the guy didn't want to get married in the first place or was just unsure about marriage as a concept. And by the way, I have no idea if he's married now. People are allowed to change their minds. Anyway, I based my entire view of myself, my self-worth, on his willingness to move our relationship forward. And that's why my obsession with being chosen was so harmful to me. Basing my self-worth on another person's feelings towards me. Not great. Just to sum up why our obsession with being chosen is so harmful, it's because you abandon yourself, you become the smallest version of yourself, you give your power away, you stay in the wrong relationships for too long, you can't actually evaluate compatibility because you're too busy performing, and it creates a one-sided dynamic from the start. And here's the last thing I want to say before we shift into how to be the chooser, because that's what we're going to talk about next. I want to just touch on this really quick because I think a lot of people don't realize this in dating, but you can't make someone choose you. You can't convince them. Here's the thing. If you show up in your dating life as your most authentic self and you see that the interest and affection is not mutual, there's no point in trying to make it mutual. This has to happen organically. You can't force it. I think growing up, again, with all these movies, like She's All That or Miss Congeniality or even Legally Blonde, And it's like, bam, with a quick makeover, the dream guy wants us, and that's all there is to it. But that's just not how real life works. There is not going to be a makeover moment where the guy or woman or whoever you're chasing is suddenly going to see you and be interested in you if they're not right now. It's just not going to happen. You have to show up as yourself. And when you let someone see you fully, which I know is terrifying, and they decide that you're for them, here's what you need to do instead. There really is no convincing in the equation here. You show up as yourself. You let someone fully see you for who you are, which I know is scary, and they'll decide if you're for them while you're doing the same thing. In my dating era, I wanted to be with someone who was actively choosing me too. And I could tell from a mile away when a guy just wanted a girlfriend or companion and was looking for pretty much any woman to fill that space. Like, you start to notice that they're just rushing it because they just want to stop being single and they just want to have a girlfriend already. And they'll take the first person that seems fine. That's not what we want. That's not being the chooser. So after the break, we are going to get into how you can actually become the chooser. I've been on a lot of first dates, and normally I'd feel pretty good about myself going into them, but I was almost always self-conscious about my nails. I was a lifelong nail biter until I started taking care of them consistently, and now I use Olive & June's Mani system, which makes having freshly polished, well-maintained nails so much easier. There's something about having a manicure that makes me feel like my life is so much more together. Olive & June's Mani system is amazing. It comes with everything you need to keep your nails looking great with salon-grade tools and 6 high-quality nail polishes of your choice. You can DIY a professional-looking manicure without leaving your couch, setting up an appointment, or spending a lot thanks to Olive & June's Mani system. It ends up being about $2 per manicure, which I know for me means a lot because going to the salon frequently really adds up. And that's why I started doing it myself in the first place. Olive & June also has gel mani systems, pedicure systems, and so many different polish colors to choose from, and press-ons. Their press-on options are adorable, and if you're looking for a gift for someone who loves nail care, Olive & June is the best option. Visit oliveandjune.com/dating20 for 20% off your first system. That's oliveandjune.com/dating20 for 20% off your first system. This time of year, I am so busy and honestly a little bit stressed preparing for a long international trip this month, which I'm really excited for, but I'm also figuring out holiday gifts, recording a ton of episodes ahead of time, and trying to see all my friends before I leave while also sticking to my workout routine and sleep schedule. It's a lot. And when my schedule gets like this, it's so hard to stay on track with what I'm eating. I'm grabbing whatever, leaving grocery shopping to the last minute, eating at airports. You know how it is. That's why I love AG1. It's the daily health drink clinically proven to fill nutrient gaps that covers your multivitamin, pre- and probiotic superfoods, and antioxidants into one simple green scoop. So even when I'm not eating the way I normally do, I know I'm still giving my body the nutrients it needs. I throw AG1 into my smoothies at home, or I'll just add it to water. It makes supporting gut health so easy, especially when traveling. I'm enjoying AG1's pineapple and vanilla flavor, which is their original flavor, and they have so many other options to choose from. If you're looking to step up your wellness game this season, I highly recommend checking out AG1. AG1 has their best offer ever. If you head to drinkag1.com/dating, you'll get the welcome kit, a morning person hat, a bottle of vitamin D3 and K2, an AG1 flavor sampler, and you'll get to try their new sleep supplement, AGZ, for free, which has been a game changer for my nightly routine. That's drinkag1.com/dating for $126 in free gifts for new subscribers. Welcome back. So how are you going to become the chooser? Being the chooser simply means you're focusing on finding someone who fits what you're looking for rather than trying to fit what someone else is looking for. So the first step is knowing exactly what you want. I want you to get so specific. And we've had guests on the show talk about writing lists, writing a letter to your future person, writing your ideal day with your future partner, including how you want to feel. You know, what that looked like for me was dialing in my needs in a partner and basically tattooing that on the inside of my brain so I'd never forget. You need to get very, very crystal clear about what you want so that when you find it, you'll know. You can't choose someone if you don't know exactly what you want. So get it down on paper. I don't care how you do it, just do it. So this is the first step that you really can't skip. And then when you meet people, when you're dating, You are gathering information about them and comparing that information to whatever you wrote down, to what you want. And when you learn that someone does not align with what you want, you walk away, even if the connection is amazing, even if they're the most attractive person in the world. It doesn't matter. If it's not what you want, you're walking away. And I think this is truly the hardest part about being the chooser, because sometimes it means choosing to leave. Actually, most of the time it means choosing to walk away. Being the chooser also means choosing yourself. You are honoring your needs. You're setting boundaries. You're speaking up for yourself and advocating for yourself, because choosing the right partner is something you're doing for you. You are doing it for yourself. You're making the best choice for your current and future self. Walking away from someone who's not up to your standards is you making the best choice for you now and you in the future. Another piece of this is knowing that you're worthy of what you want and that you're not asking for too much. People come to me all the time. They're like, Talia, I just think I'm asking for too much. And I'm like, no, you're not. And I will be honest with you. I will tell you if you are. What most people are asking for is maybe just one step above the bare minimum. Like, it's absolutely not too much. So it's going to be hard for you to choose someone who's at that standard if you don't believe you are worthy, or if you think you're asking for too much. Just if that's resonating with you, that is something to work on. Another aspect of being the chooser, super important, you're not choosing someone who doesn't choose you back. This is key for a relationship to work. There has to be reciprocity and mutual interest. If it's not mutual, then they're off the table. You're not choosing them. They're not even a choice anymore. You want to be with someone who's enthusiastic about you too, but their enthusiasm alone isn't enough. And this is why, again, going back to getting crystal clear on what you want is so important, because you have to actually like who they are and how they treat you and how you feel about them. It's not just about, oh, he really likes me, I'm good, that's it, end of story. It needs to be all the above. I think the biggest trap that I fell into in my journey was choosing someone on the sole basis that they like me and seemed to be choosing me back instead of actually getting to know them. And I think a lot of us make this mistake, because I guess, it's true that finding someone who chooses you back is hard. It is hard to have that mutual choosing. And here are some questions to keep in your mind so you stay in the chooser mindset. Do I like them? Do I like how they're treating me? Do I like how they're acting? Do I like how I feel around them? Do I like who I am around them? Do I enjoy spending time with them? Do I feel like my needs will be met with them? It starts with you. Don't worry about how much they like you. They're continuing to see you. Like, if they're continuing to show up on dates, they like you. Keep your focus on if you want to keep seeing them. That's something that the movies just don't teach us. And I always encourage you to base your decisions on the newest information you have. So if someone acted a certain way week 1, but now it's week 4 and they're acting differently, make your decision based on week 4, not week 1, right? So I got a few questions from listeners about this topic. The first one is, how can I be in the driver's seat while desiring to be chosen? Think about it this way. You're the driver of the car, okay? You choose who gets to sit next to you, but they're only going to stay in the car if they choose you back, and you can't make someone stay. So that's where that mutual piece comes in. You can still, be on your path, be on your track, your timeline, whatever it is. And you're only going to continue with people who choose you back. That you're not going to drag someone along. Another question is, how do I not idealize someone because they choose me? When we put so much value on being chosen, it's so dangerous. So yes, someone wanting to be with you is important, but that's not all there is to it. And if this is a pattern for you, you need to step back and ask yourself, is he the kind of person I want to be with? Do I like how they treat me? Is she consistent? Do I feel safe around them? All those questions I said before. We need to set the bar much higher than someone just saying they want to be with you. Don't let that alone be where you're setting the bar. Back to my experience, like I told you what I went through in high school and college and a little bit after, but it wasn't until my late 20s and now my 30s when I realized that I could be the chooser. And this happened when I stepped back a bit from my last relationship, and I really had to think about whether I'd choose this dynamic for the rest of my life. And the answer was so clearly no. But I had focused so much on getting him to want me as a wife that I forgot to really consider whether or not I wanted him as a husband. Which I know a lot of people have made this mistake. And I know it sounds so obvious and simple, but keep in mind my brain was wired a certain way for half my life, and I truly had to snap out of it. And it was like being snapped out of a trance. When I wrote down my needs and switched into being the chooser, the dating game completely changed. Focusing on my needs gave me something to look for and measure people against. These were things that really mattered to me that I knew would help me get into the relationship I wanted and help me feel the way I wanted in a relationship. And being the chooser, being the one to be like, okay, do I want to choose you? It was just so much more empowering. I stopped focusing on if people liked me. And again, like I said earlier, if they kept showing up on dates with me, I assume they like me. End of story. No ruminating on that. No freaking out. If they kept showing up, I was like, cool, they're into me. I stopped dating for validation. And I have a whole episode on that. I will link that in the show notes, how to know if you're dating for validation and how to stop. Finally, I knew with the chooser mindset that I was never, ever going to settle for someone who was into me, but didn't have anything else I was looking for. It helped me just completely avoid that trap. So let's go back to what I said earlier about how choosing has to be mutual. I want to talk about specifically what that looks like. When it comes to early dating, it looks like getting to know each other slowly and learning about each other and making active decisions on whether or not you'd like to keep going based on what you are looking for. Is it a match? Both people need to be doing this. Both people, you and them, gathering information on each other to decide if you want more. That's what choosing each other is in early dating. You'll know that someone isn't doing this by how quickly they accept you as their potential partner. Like they'll be like, okay, like 2 dates, like let's go, let's be exclusive. It's like, you don't know me, bro. You'll start to see people rushing it because they just want to fill the blank space instead of actually getting to know someone. And then in a relationship, the choosing turns into loving. Love is a verb, actively deciding every day that you want to be in that relationship with that person and showing it. And I get that you want to feel chosen in early dating. It's fine to want the romantic things that make you feel special and seen and appreciated and cherished. But also you have to ask yourself, are you willing to give them the same? There has to be that reciprocation. How are you going to make your partner feel chosen? Here are some ways that my husband and I make each other feel chosen all the time. We make time for each other constantly, which is so great. We check in on each other. We're constantly checking in on how our individual things that we're working on are going. It's not just about our relationship check-ins. We also check in about personal stuff. We involve each other in big decisions and small ones, if we're being honest. And we value each other's opinion and advice, which I love. And we show each other affection and desire. Those are just some of the basic ways that we are choosing each other all the time. And by the way, when I asked my husband, Johnny, about this choosing thing, the language of chooser chosen did not resonate with him. And I had to switch into more sciencey terms like dating is collecting information on someone so you can make educated decisions on whether or not you want to keep dating them. And that he resonated with. So I just found that interesting. Not everyone looks at it as choosing chosen. There's other ways to look at it. So as we wrap this up, I just want to say, I want you to be with someone who chooses you. But that's not really in your control as much as being the chooser is. When you shift to being the chooser, you have so much more agency in your dating life. And what you're aiming for is ultimately choosing someone who chooses you back. That's the standard, nothing less. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So if you want to get in the conversation, drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube if you're watching there, or shoot me a DM on Instagram at dating.intentionally. Up next, we have a dating dilemma. All right, welcome back. We've got a dating dilemma here. By the way, you can submit your dating dilemmas in the show notes. There's a link there that says submit a question. We do one at the end of every episode. So thank you to everyone who has submitted what's going on in your dating life, because it helps other people feel less alone and it gives us a glimpse into what other people are dealing with. Here we go. I, 22 female, reconnected with a girl, 21 female, that I met on a trip when we were teenagers. During that trip that happened years ago, we were really close, but nothing happened. We both thought we were straight at the time. We kept numbers, but slowly lost touch as we were living in different cities. A few months ago, I contacted her again out of curiosity. She answered me and we started talking. Because we are now living in the same area, I suggested seeing each other again and she agreed. When I saw her, I learned that she just broke up with her boyfriend of 1.5 years and that she's bisexual. I told her that I'm lesbian. We saw each other a few times after that, and I'm starting to develop a crush on her. But the last time I saw her, she said to me that she feels she's not ready to be in a relationship yet. She said she downloaded the dating apps out of curiosity, but she knows that if she enters a relationship now, it's just going to be a rebound. I know she needs a few months more to heal and get ready for a new relationship, and I just don't know what to do in the meantime. I feel like there are 3 options. 1, I could continue to get to know her and try to befriend her. And when she's ready, and if I'm still attracted to her, I could try to make our relationship happen and see if she's attracted to me or not. 2, I could maintain low-key contact, sending messages once a while to check in on her, but not seeing her more until she's ready for a relationship, then start the dating process to see if it works out. And 3, stop seeing her altogether, move on to other women. I don't know which one to choose because I don't want to suffer, but at the same time, I don't want to lose what could potentially be a good relationship if I wait. Thank you for sharing this. Let us know in the comments your take on this one. I think you probably know what I'm going to say here. But I just want to say it's frustrating when you meet someone who you think you have potential with and they're not ready, but you are. It's a bummer. So I would have to say, based on your 3 options, I would prioritize the third one, moving on, but I don't see any problem with the second option of just keeping a little contact going if you want. Like, my advice, if you're crushing on someone who's just out of a relationship, is to keep seeing other people and leave the door open. I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping in contact a little as you meet new people, or, let her know that you're crushing on her, but she's not ready, and leave the ball in her court. But you need to be okay with her never passing the ball back, because we just don't know if it's going to happen. I don't believe in right person, wrong time. And I get it. It's a bummer that you're single at the same time and she's not ready. Such a bummer. But I just don't want you to wait for anyone. It's frustrating, to keep holding your feelings back when you're also friends with someone you're pining for, and then you're going to feel stuck. It's just not worth it, right? I would say for this one, focus on other people. Leave the door open with her. Don't just drop her completely. But I think if you want to check in with her from time to time, that's fine. And I also want to point out one thing to watch out for here. There is an element of projecting what a relationship could be. You mentioned the potential, but I want you to ground yourself in the reality that you don't know how it would work out. I don't want you to put this woman on a pedestal, because it might not even work out even if you dated. I don't want you to act as though this would be great, because you truly don't know until you're in it. So take her off the pedestal, keep seeing other people, leave the door open, and let us know what happens. Thank you so much for submitting this. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for trusting me. Don't forget, you're doing great. If you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or a fresh perspective, share this episode with them. And if this podcast has helped you, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify goes a very long way. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you next time.